We have all been in a place like this. A train station, an airport, or a busy city square. It is a river of people. Hundreds of faces, all strangers, flow past you. Each person is in their own world. They are looking at their phones, listening to music, or just staring ahead, lost in thought. The air is filled with a low hum, the sound of announcements, rolling suitcases, and footsteps. You are just one small part of this giant, moving thing. Anonymous. Invisible, almost. You feel the strange comfort of being surrounded by people without having to know any of them. Then, something happens. It is small at first. A break in the pattern. An older man walking ahead of you suddenly stumbles. His legs seem to give way. He doesn't fall hard, but he crumples. He lands on his knees, and his bag of groceries spills across the floor. Oranges roll under people's feet. For a single second, the river of people stops. A small space clears around him, and in that space, a question hangs in the air. You feel it. A jolt, a flash of concern. Is he okay? Your eyes dart around, not just at him, but at everyone else. This is the important part. Your first instinct is not just to act, but to check. You are looking for a clue. You are asking a silent question to 100 strangers at once. What are we supposed to do now? Their faces show you nothing. They show you the same thing your face probably shows them, a mild, distant concern. A little bit of surprise. No one rushes forward. No one panics. People slow down. They look. They might whisper to the person next to them, but their bodies stay put. They form a loose, silent circle. A circle of witnesses. You watch him try to get up. He seems dizzy. He puts a hand on the floor to steady himself. The oranges have stopped rolling. They sit there on the dirty tile. Every person there sees them. Every person sees the man. The thought enters your mind, I should help. But it is followed so quickly by another thought. Someone else will. Surely, someone else will help. Maybe a doctor is in the crowd. Maybe the person right next to him will reach out a hand. You are 10 feet away. Others are closer. The responsibility feels thin, spread out across the crowd like a fine mist. Another thought follows. What if I walk over there and he gets angry? What if he is fine and I just embarrass him? What if I make a scene? Everyone is watching. It is easier to do what everyone else is doing. Nothing. So you stand there. You are a good person. You care about others. But you are frozen. Trapped in a silent, invisible web. You are part of the circle. After a few long seconds, a security guard finally pushes through the crowd. The spell is broken. The moment has passed. The river of people begins to flow again. You walk away, but the feeling stays with you. It is a quiet, heavy feeling. Why did no one move? Why did I not move? We were all there and we all saw it. Why, when a person is in trouble, surrounded by people, do we so often do nothing at all? To find the answer, we have to go back in time. To a different city and a different night. New York City, 1964. The city was, as it always is, a place of millions of stories happening all at once. But one story from that year would become famous. It would stick in the mind of the public and refuse to go away. It is the story of a woman named Kitty Genovese. We will not talk about the terrible details of what happened to her. That part of the story belongs to her and her family. We are interested in the part of the story that happened after. We are interested in the question that grew out of it. A few weeks after her death, a major newspaper, the New York Times, published an article. The article said that 38 people had seen or heard the attack on Kitty. It said that the attack happened over a long period of time, close to half an hour. And during that time, not a single person had called the police. This detail was like a shockwave. The city, and soon the country, could not stop talking about it. The story was no longer just about a crime. It was about the 38 people. Who were they? Why did they do nothing? The easy answer was that they were monsters. That New York City had become a cold, heartless place where people had forgotten how to care for one another. People said it was a sign of a sick society, a moral failure. But for two young psychologists, this answer felt too simple. Their names were Latané and Darley. They were scientists, and scientists are curious. They look for patterns and explanations that are not obvious. They did not believe that on one single night, in one single neighborhood, 38 evil or uncaring people just happened to be living in the same place. That was too much of a coincidence. They believed something else was going on. They suspected the problem was not in the character of the people, but in the situation itself. What if, they thought, the 38 people did nothing, not because they were bad people, but because there were 38 of them? What if the number of witnesses was not just a detail in the story, but the very cause of the inaction? This was a strange idea. Common sense tells us that there is safety in numbers, that if you are in trouble, you want more people around, not fewer. Latané and Darley suggested the opposite might be true. They believed that the presence of others could change the way we think and act. It could create a force that stops us from helping. They decided to study this force. They wanted to take this question out of the newspapers and into the laboratory, where they could look at it closely. They wanted to understand the strange and powerful psychology that kept the 38 witnesses from picking up the phone. Their work would not be about judging those people. It would be about understanding the invisible walls that can rise up between us in a moment of crisis. Their journey for an answer would change the way we understand ourselves. Latané and Darley started with a very simple idea. Imagine you are walking by a river and you see a child has fallen in. You are the only person there. You can see the child struggling in the water. In that moment, a heavy weight lands on your shoulders. It is the weight of responsibility. It is 100% yours. The choice to act or not act belongs to you and you alone. You feel the full pressure of the situation. Most people in this situation would not hesitate. They would jump in, or call for help, or do something, because the weight of doing nothing would be too heavy to bear. Now, imagine the same scene. The same child is in the river. But this time, you are not alone. You are standing on the riverbank with a crowd of 50 other people. Everyone is watching the child struggle. What happens to the weight of responsibility now? It does not disappear. But it is no longer yours alone. It is shared. It is divided into 50 smaller pieces. The heavy weight that was on your shoulders is now a much lighter load. You feel only 1/50th of the pressure. This is the first force they discovered. They called it diffusion of responsibility. The word diffusion means to spread out. When there are many witnesses, the personal responsibility to help spreads out among them. Each person feels less and less responsible. It is a simple idea, but it is powerful. Think about a time you were on a highway and saw a car pulled over on the side of the road with its hood up. You saw it, but you probably did not stop. Part of your thinking, whether you realized it or not, was that thousands of other cars were also driving by. Someone else will stop, he might have thought. The responsibility was diffused across all the drivers on that road. But if you were driving on a lonely country road late at night and saw that same car, the feeling would be different. You might be the only person to pass by for an hour. The responsibility would feel much heavier. You would be more likely to stop. This force explains how a group of people can all see a problem and all expect someone else to solve it. In the mind of each person in the crowd, they are not deciding to do nothing. They are just assuming that someone else, someone more qualified, someone closer, someone braver, will be the one to act. The tragic result is that sometimes no one does. Everyone waits for everyone else. This is not a conscious or cruel decision. It is a quiet, automatic mental calculation we do. The more people who are present, the less personal responsibility we feel. It is the simple math of a crowd. It is why someone can lie on a busy sidewalk in a big city for a long time before anyone helps. Thousands of people might walk by. Each one sees the person on the ground, and each one assumes someone else will make the call. The responsibility is so spread out that it becomes almost weightless. It is there, but no one can feel it. This was the first piece of the puzzle that Latané and Darley found. It was a big piece, but it was not the whole story. The second force is more subtle. It is about how we decide if a situation is a real emergency in the first place. When something unexpected happens, we are often not sure what it means. Is that man shouting because he is angry? Or is he just playing with his friends? Is that smoke coming from the kitchen because the building is on fire? Or did someone just burn their toast? In these moments of doubt, we do something very human. We look at other people. We look for clues in their behavior. We are trying to read their minds to understand what is happening. Latané and Darley designed a brilliant experiment to study this. Imagine you have volunteered for a study. You are asked to sit in a small room and fill out a questionnaire. As you are working, a strange thing happens. A white smoke starts to seep into the room from a vent in the wall. At first, it is just a little. Then it gets thicker, Let's say you are the only person in the room. What would you do? The smoke is strange. It is not normal. You would probably look at the vent, sniff the air, and feel a growing sense of alarm. In the actual experiment, when people were alone, they almost always got up and left the room to report the smoke. They trusted their own eyes and their own judgment. Now, let's reset the scene. You are in the same room, filling out the same questionnaire. But this time, you are not alone. There are 2 other people in the room with you. You do not know it, but they are actors, part of the experiment. The smoke starts to seep in from the vent, just like before. You notice it. You look up, concerned. You look over at the 2 other people. They do nothing. They keep their heads down, writing calmly on their forms. They do not seem to notice the smoke. Or if they do not seem to care. They just keep working as the room gets hazier. Now, what do? This is where it gets strange. Your eyes are telling you there is smoke. Your brain is telling you that smoke can mean fire, and fire is danger. But the calm behavior of the other 2 people is telling you a different story. Their story is, everything is fine. This is not a problem. A conflict is created in your mind. A conflict between what you see with your own eyes and what you see in the actions of others. In the experiment, most people chose to believe the story told by the group. They stayed in the room. They would cough, rub their eyes, and wave the smoke away from their faces. But they would not leave. They did not want to be the only one who panicked. They accepted the group's definition of the situation. They accepted that this strange, smoky room was normal. This is the force of pluralistic ignorance. It is a situation where a group of people secretly disagree with what is happening, but they believe they are the only one who feels that way. Everyone is looking at everyone else for clues, and because no one is acting, everyone concludes that there must not be an emergency. It becomes a silent agreement to ignore the problem. Each person's inaction reinforces the inaction of everyone else. It is a feedback loop of stillness. This is a powerful force because it happens below the level of conscious thought. We do not decide to be ignorant. We are just trying to fit in and act correctly. But the result is that a group of people can stand and watch a dangerous situation unfold, each one waiting for someone else to signal that it is time to worry. And if no one sends that signal, then the emergency, in the mind of the group, never truly begins. There is one more force, and this one might be the most personal. It is the fear of being judged. The fear of looking like a fool. Imagine you are in a college lecture. The professor explains a complex idea. You do not understand it at all. You are completely lost. You have a question, but you hesitate to raise your hand. A voice in your head starts to whisper, "What if it's a stupid question? What if everyone else understood it and I'm the only one who is confused? If I ask, everyone will turn and look at me. They will think I'm dumb, so you stay silent." Later, you find out that half the class was just as confused as you were. Everyone was afraid to ask. This feeling has a name. It is called evaluation apprehension. It is our fear of being evaluated or judged by others. This fear is a basic part of being a social animal. We want to be accepted by the group. We do not want to be embarrassed or cast out. This fear can be so strong that it can stop us from doing what we think is right. Now, let's apply this fear to a crisis. You are on a public bus, and a man at the front of the bus groans and slumps over in his seat. Is he having a heart attack, or is he just drunk and falling asleep? The situation is not clear. It is ambiguous. You think about getting up. You think about shouting. Does anyone know CPR? But then, the fear of the spotlight kicks in. The voice in your head starts its work. What if I'm wrong? What if I rush up there and he's just sleeping? He will wake up angry. Everyone on the bus will stare at me. I'll be the person who caused a scene for no reason. I don't really know first aid anyway. I might make things worse. Your brain is doing a very fast risk analysis. On one hand, there is the potential risk that the man is in serious trouble. On the other hand, there is the immediate and very certain risk of social embarrassment. The fear of looking foolish feels very real and very close. In that moment of uncertainty, it can feel more powerful than the distant possibility that you could help. This fear changes your motivation. The problem is no longer just about the man who needs help. It becomes a problem about you. How will I look if I act? What will people think of me? It puts a spotlight on you in your own mind, and this spotlight can be paralyzing. It is a social brake that slows down our helping instinct. When we are alone, this brake is much weaker. If you are the only one to see someone collapse, there is no one else to judge you. The social risk is gone, but in a group, the audience is all around you. The fear of their judgment, even if they are strangers you will never see again, can be enough to keep you in your seat. It is the final wall that can rise up in a moment of crisis. A wall built not of bricks, but of our own fear of what other people might think. These three forces do not work alone. They are not separate. They twist together, creating a perfect trap of inaction. When they combine, they become much stronger than any single one of them. Let's see how they work together, second by second, in a common situation. Imagine you live in a large apartment building. It is late at night. You are reading in your living room. The building is quiet. Suddenly, you hear a loud crash from the apartment next door. It is followed by the sound of a woman crying out in pain. For a moment, you freeze. Your heart beats faster. That did not sound good. Your first instinct is to help. But then, the trap begins to close. First, pluralistic ignorance arrives. You stand up and put your ear to the wall. You hear nothing more. You think about the other neighbors. The building has dozens of apartments. Everyone must have heard that crash. You wait. You listen. But there is only silence. No doors are opening. No one is shouting, "Are you okay?" The silence from everyone else sends a powerful message to your brain. It must not be an emergency. If it were a real problem, other people would be reacting. You start to doubt what you heard. Maybe it was just a television show. Maybe someone just dropped something heavy. The lack of reaction from others makes you redefine the event. It goes from crisis to mystery. Next, diffusion of responsibility takes hold. You think, even if it is a problem, I am not the only one who heard it. The person across the hall is closer. The people in the apartment downstairs probably heard it even louder. Someone else will surely call the building manager. Someone else will handle it. The responsibility, which for a second felt like it was all yours, is now scattered. It blows like dust through the hallways of the building, settling a tiny bit on every resident. You no longer feel the heavy weight. You are just one person among many. It is no longer your job alone. Finally, evaluation apprehension delivers the final blow. You still feel a small urge to do something. You think about knocking on your neighbor's door. But the voice of fear starts whispering. What if I knock and they open the door and they are just having a small argument? They will be angry at me for listening. They will think I am a nosy neighbor. I will have to see them in the hallway for years, and it will always be awkward. What if I call the police and it turns out to be nothing? I will have wasted their time. I will look like an overreacting fool. And there it is. The trap is shut. In the space of less than a minute, you have gone from being a concerned person ready to help to a silent witness who does nothing. Pluralistic ignorance told you it probably was not a problem. Diffusion of responsibility told you it was not your problem. And evaluation apprehension told you that trying to help was a bigger risk than staying quiet. This is how groups of good, decent people can fail to act. It is not because they are evil. It is because these three powerful forces create a kind of psychological paralysis. They create a perfect, invisible cage that holds everyone in place. We have spent this time looking at a dark part of our nature. We have seen the forces that can turn us into silent bystanders. It is a heavy thing to think about. It can make us feel helpless. But the story does not end there. Understanding these forces is not about feeling guilty. It is about learning how to defeat them. The trap is powerful, but it is not unbreakable. You can learn to break the spell. Breaking the spell does not require you to be a hero. It does not require you to be stronger or braver than everyone else. It just requires you to be the one who sees the trap and decides to step out of it. It is a choice. It happens in a few simple steps. First, you have to truly notice the situation. In a world full of noise and distraction, it is easy to tune things out. The first step is to fight that urge. When you feel that jolt of concern, do not look away. Look directly at the problem. Acknowledge that something is wrong. Second, you must interpret it as an emergency, even if no one else is. This is a direct fight against pluralistic ignorance. You have to trust your own judgment over the silence of the crowd. You have to tell yourself, my eyes see a problem. My gut feels that this is wrong. I will act as if it is a real emergency, because it might be. You have to be willing to be the only one who looks worried. Third, you must take personal responsibility. This is the antidote to diffusion of responsibility. You have to say the words to yourself, either silently or out loud. I will be the one to act. I will not assume someone else is going to do it. Right now, it is my job. In that moment, you gather all of that scattered, misty responsibility and you pull it back onto your own shoulders. You accept the weight. Finally, you must act. And this is the most important part. Acting does not have to be dramatic. The single most powerful thing you can do to break the spell for everyone is to be clear and direct. You can turn a crowd of frozen bystanders into a group of helpers with one simple sentence. Do not just shout, "Someone call 911." That is still too general. The responsibility is still diffused. Instead, you point. You find a face in the crowd. You make eye contact. And you give a clear command. You, in the red coat, call 911 right now. Look at what that one sentence does. It destroys all three forces at once. It defines the situation as a real emergency. It places 100% of the responsibility for that one task on one specific person. And it tells them exactly what to do, removing any fear of doing the wrong thing. You have just broken the spell. You have turned a stranger into a deputy. You can continue. You, can you help me check if he's breathing? You, please help me clear his space. You can conduct the chaos into action. Being a bystander is not a character flaw. It is a human condition, but it does not have to be our destiny. We have a choice. We can remain part of the silent, watching crowd. Or we can be the person who speaks, the person who points, the person who breaks the spell and reminds everyone else that we are not just a crowd of strangers. We are human beings, and we are all in this together.